Final hour overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. And Bruce Boudreau coming up, couple games in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. We got the NFL draft. Our boy Luke Willson will join us here in a moment. I'm sure Luke will look back on his draft year and what it could be like in Detroit, right? He's from LaSalle, Ontario. Right.
Wonder if he's still bent out of shape about those play calls in the playoffs with the Lions and still thinks it was nuts.
Yeah, I'll bet he does.
Danny doubling down.
I'll bet he does.
I guarantee you he's still pissed about it, for sure.
Yeah, he should be. And, there's a ton of rumors out there about what could happen tonight. This happens every year with every draft. Right, prepare for bedlam. There's going to be craziness. Could be 10 trades. Probably not. Probably won't be. It'll probably turn into a fairly routine draft. But we know Williams is going to go first. It sounds like Daniels will go second. Drake May probably goes third. That's 3 quarterbacks. Bang, bang, bang. And one will turn into a really good player. One will kind of hang around the league for a while, and the other one will be out of the league in like 4 or 5 years. I hate to say that, but history, that's what history tells us. History, if you can't learn from it, what are we doing here, would suggest if you go 3 quarterbacks right off the bat, they're not all going to hit. Like at least one of them will bust out.
Is this USC dude and years past, I think Leinart went there, Matt Leinart. Wasn't he USC dude,
yes,
that lefty? And
yep.
He was like the surefire next Steve Young, and he didn't really last long. No, dude.
It didn't work.
But is this guy supposed to be automatic Peyton Manning stuff? I've been reading a bunch of tweets, and they're saying now GMs are concerned, or I don't know what the hell the deal is. But is he a lock, Hayes?
He was always a lock all year to go first.
To go
overall.
one.
Yes. Suggesting he'll be Peyton Manning, I think, is asking too much. But if you're Chicago, at a minimum, you're hoping what you're getting is a guy in his prime will be a top 10 quarterback in the league. That's
dude,
what
you're hoping
for.
You're getting is you're not going to be the Jets and two times in a row think you have the future quarterback and they stink.
Exactly.
Because your organization, it puts you back 10 years.
Crushes
you. You better not pick the wrong guy. That's what it is. Because we do it all the time in hockey. We go back into the draft and go, God, they missed on, Quinn Hughes was at 6 and they, this team, chose this guy at 5. Like and if you miss on one of those quarterbacks and the other guy goes on to be a Hall of Famer, that's where you owe. So you'd say fireable offense, right? Like that's where you go to the scouts and say, how the hell did we choose this guy?
Well, Noodles, somebody's paid, and I get it. It's a really difficult thing to project 5 to 7 years after you draft someone. In some cases,
right.
In some cases, it's going to be year one. Like, are you going to be an automatic stud? And if I put faith and trust, and I didn't have time to be around at rinks or football fields, and I gave somebody the permission to make the call and they butchered it, I'd fire them. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. When it's like an organizational changer, I would fire them.
It's make or break when you get to the top of the draft. The reason you're there is because your team stinks. That's why you're there, because your team's terrible and you need help. And this is your opportunity to do that. And we referenced the Jets. They thought they got out of it when they took Sam Darnold 3rd overall. It didn't work out. Okay, we'll take Zach Wilson 2nd overall. All right, it didn't work out. And if you just keep cycling through misses and misses and misses, the nature of it is, and the nature of the position, you got to go back to the well. You can't be afraid to jump back in the pool. You've got to keep taking quarterbacks and praying at some point someone hits.
You have no choice.
You have to because of the position. But if you don't hit, you're never going anywhere. Like the nature of football, pro football, how much of an offensive explosion it's been in the game the last 20 years, the nature of a quarterback, you have to have one. You have to have a really good quarterback. And I think if you're the Bears, obviously the sky's the limit for Caleb Williams, but I think they'd sign off on 12 years of being a top 10 quarterback. Like, give me that. That means you're going to go to the playoffs a lot. Maybe not win a Super Bowl, but you're going to go to the playoffs a lot. You're going to be a respectable team and a good team. And if you're consistently top 10, then he's going to have a few years where he's in the top 5. And it's like, okay, that's an MVP caliber guy. We can win with that. If he's anything less than that, though, they're going to be going back to the well. There's a very good chance. And the same thing with whoever takes Daniels out of LSU, or whoever takes Drake May, or if they, Penix gets drafted in the first round, or J.J. McCarthy. Like, someone's going to take these guys. and at least a couple of them are simply not going to work.
They're just going to be duds.
tell you,
Yeah, they're just going to be duds.
I'll never forget the look on Hazy B's face when my Partsy made the announcement that he's teaming up with O'Win Willson. I mean, wasn't that a great moment in OverDrive history?
It was
Bring
a
him
moment.
in.
Yeah, it was
I
a
was
moment.
there. I saw the look on his face.
Wilson is cooking.
Here he is, your boy, Luke Willson. It's been a while. We haven't talked to you in a while, buddy. Are you still angry about the Lions play calling against the Niners? We asked that question about 15 minutes ago.
You know what? It's funny is I'm in Windsor at the moment right now, so obviously a ton of Lions fans, and it's came up 7 or 8 times already. And yes, I still think it's ridiculous.
Good.
However, Hayes, I do have something to get off my chest again.
Uh-oh.
You know, it's draft time, man. And as you saw yesterday with the Lions, a couple big ticket deals. You know, this is really when you put OTAs around the corner, you got to put your roster in place now. You know, you build through the draft. So I think it's important for me to announce that I have re-signed the team O'Win Willson for next year.
Yes! Parts,
right.
I just want to say we stumbled a bit down the stretch, but pro athletes forever, pro athletes for life, and we are a dream team, and we're going to kick some ass. Wow. Screw Al's brother and screw Hayes.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Like I said, draft is this weekend. I'm 20 minutes away from Detroit right now. I'm ready to rumble. I'm crunching numbers already. I'm looking at guys getting picked. I'll be ready to roll week 1. Let's just put it that way.
Well, listen, that's impressive. I mean, you guys had a very, very impressive regular season. Al's brother and I, we were built for the playoffs, naturally. I mean, that's when we decided to shine, and that's when we did shine. And, you know, the reality of what happens tonight, we were talking about Caleb Williams, who's going to go first overall. Like, if you're the Bears, obviously, ideally, this guy turns into an all-pro future Hall of Famer. But considering their history at that position and what they're already dealing with within their own division in Green Bay, in Detroit, like I just said, Luke, I think they'd sign off on 12 years of this guy just being a very good quarterback. Like, they'll take it because it's been so desperate at that position for them for like 40 years.
You know, Hayes, I think the Bears are in this might sound very strange, and please let me explain for you. I think this is weird, but a very terrible, terrible spot right now. Obviously, you're thinking, what do you mean? If the number 1 pick is Caleb Williams. But the stuff that has come out about this guy off the field right now,
like what?
I'm terrified if I'm a Bears fan.
Why?
I mean,
what is it?
The whole, like, he wanted stake in the franchise, allegedly. There's a bunch of stuff I'm reading online about him and his behavior. It doesn't really seem like I'm trying to phrase this correctly, but it doesn't really seem like he's going to be the most beloved guy in the locker room. Again, don't know the guy, but just things I've kind of read, you know. So the way that I'm looking at this thing, yes, what do we got for me?
Well,
it just seems like those comments, it seems like this is going to be a disaster. And after Fields, you got 2 disasters in a row, and it sets your organization back 10 years, just like what the Jets did, Luke.
I couldn't agree with you more. And again, it's like, man, if this guy doesn't come out and perform, you know, everybody there is going to end up getting fired. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a mess. And like, why can't they figure this thing out? And what gets tough for me right now is, again, thinking as a player. If you just went through Justin Fields, who was supposed to be the man, obviously a high pick, and then you're like, man, we don't care that Caleb Williams is touted as good. We just had a kid that was supposed to be, you know, the next greatest thing, and we shipped him out of town for practically a Snickers bar. Okay, you think the veterans there care that Caleb Williams is supposed to be good? He better be good. And then if he has this like cocky, arrogant attitude and he can't back it up, the locker room's it's gonna be a mutiny in there. They're gonna be like, we've seen this song and dance before. But if you're the Bears, why I say they're in a terrible situation is you can't not take him because allegedly the talent is that good. So again, it's a very tricky situation. And if I'm a Bears, if I'm the GM, front office, or coach right now, it's all hands on deck. If this guy doesn't turn out, or if he's just good, like you said, everybody there will eventually be fired in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's on the line. And then, you know, you got Washington picking second. You got the Pats picking third. You know, they're all likely going to take a quarterback. It feels that way anyway. And, you know, when you went through your draft process, do players, like if you're in college, were you tracking mock drafts and trying to get a sniff on if Mel Kiper thought you could get into the third round or any, like what was that like, knowing that scouts are out, knowing it's likely you're going to be drafted? You just didn't know where you were going, trying to get a read on how the general public was feeling about you and whoever else you were in college with and was also going to be drafted.
So, Hayes, I'm very glad you brought that question up because this is a very personal experience for me, and I kid you not, this is God's honest truth. My draft year, I'm sitting there and I'm reading everything because I'm a dumb kid and I don't realize that it's all nonsense. So I'm reading everything, and I didn't go to the combine. So I'm like, man, this is not good.
Why didn't
like,
you?
I didn't get invited. I wasn't invited.
Okay.
So I'm
Sorry.
like, this is terrible news. But we have these pro days, right? So I'm reading everything going to the pro day, and I'm sitting here, and I'm reading all these articles about me that says Luke Willson, pre-draft grade, like the Mel Kipers of the world, every site, like 7th round, a free agent, most likely a free agent, strictly a blocking tight end, big body, stiff hips, can't run, blocks. I go on pro day, and I rip a 40-yard dash. I believe NFL.com had it at 4.51. Jump a pretty good route, or jump, I think it was like 38.5, maybe somewhere in there, 37.5. Bam, have a great day. The thing ends, and I'm like, man, after that day, I've got to be, bumped up on somebody's list. I believe it was Gil Brandt on NFL.com. Mm-hmm. The first thing I read, I was in Rice's locker room after pro day. It said, Luke Willson stole the show at today's pro day. Kid can run like the wind, can't block a soul. He's going to be drafted mid-round.
God.
So my point is, at 8 a.m. Houston time, I couldn't run, was too stiff to play in the NFL, maybe a big thumping blocker. And by 2 p.m., because of non-football drills, a 40-yard dash, the narrative was this man can't block a soul, but he can run like the wind, and he'll be a mid-round pick. So it was kind of that moment where I was like, and again, I ended up going in the 5th round, but I was like, everything that I have read for the past 3 months is complete and utter trash. And again, my pro day was in March. Fast forward to mid-April. Everything from there on out was like speed demon, ball catching tight end. That's it. And I'm like, again, how this narrative changed was wild. So I think for the first few picks, they have a really good grasp on, like the, let's call it Mel Kipers of the world. But after you get past that 2nd, 3rd round, these guys are making up whatever they heard from their buddy, or they looked at the combine numbers and they're just filling airtime. They got no clue. End of my rant.
Okay, I love it.
Is there anything that could tilt this draft on its ear, like the Laramie Tunsil, whatever,
the gas mask video
hit the gas
that
mask.
we have?
Like,
yes,
we could
I
play.
mean, honestly, like that was still to this day one of the most shocking things I've ever seen on TV. Anything. We've got it up on the screen. He is the happiest guy on planet Earth when he pulls up that mask. Like the smile on his face.
It's just the most wild. This was during the draft. That guy's blocking for quarterbacks.
But somebody jammed him up. Somebody had a vendetta against him. If somebody knew the timing of that was outrageous. Yeah. I mean, who's the draft guy down in ESPN with the hair?
Well, it's Kiper. Yeah,
Kiper was like, the video has surfaced, and this guy is plummeting.
Yeah.
Plummeting.
Did, man. He dropped out of the top 10. Miami took him. He was going to go maybe first overall.
Dude, isn't he a stud right now?
Yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah, hell of a player. But
it's funny. Yeah. There's stories like that all the time. Even that was obviously the craziest one. Like, I remember playing with a guy in Seattle. He ended up being a free agent. He was a freak. And I was like, I asked him once, I go, bro, can I ask you a question? It's middle of the year. I'm like, how are you not drafted? Did you do something stupid in college? He goes, oh, you haven't heard the story? I go, what do you mean? He goes, I had a bunch of failed weed tests in college. And I went to the combine and told every single GM that I was done smoking weed. He goes, the next day, tested positive for weed, ran my 40, blew my hamstring out. It probably cost him $500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a true story. So, like, there's not, to answer your question, Noodles, okay? Like, just in draft position, okay? Just to answer your question, there's probably not going to be a Tunsil situation with the full-blown gas mask. But are there things like this that happen? I'm telling you, probably hundreds of them.
Yeah.
And
but look,
it goes all until the last minute.
I got to ask you, if you're putting that mask on, isn't the second comment can you please turn your phone off? Like, it's one thing to throw the mask on, but you cannot have someone sitting in front of you with the phone.
Scorsese right in front of you.
But is it? I don't understand. On the side, he's turning a knob. Is that allowing air?
Oh,
in
that's
or
just
something?
that's to get the full effect.
That's
Hayes,
a
you
contraption.
What was he
That guy-
doing there, Hayes?
That was all about air filtration and absolutely
And intensity.
pouring it. Yeah. Oh, you get potheads in a they will create stuff. They are the most innovative people on
Dude,
earth.
they'll fill
for
up a hole
one
at the
thing.
golf course and inhale it.
Yeah.
Like they'll do anything.
But anything you say, hey, I just blew my tire. Can you help me? They're like, absolutely not. What do you think I am, a mechanic? But yeah, you ask them to find a way to build a bong or a pipe or something. They are the most innovative people on earth.
MacGyver.
Yeah, it's MacGyver. Luke Willson with us, night one of the NFL draft in Detroit tonight, and you also get some situations where a lot of guys are obviously going to be there in Detroit tonight, and it's always an awkward scene to see, the cameras watching a guy who thought he was going in the top 5 or going in the top 10, and then, drops. And famously, Aaron Rodgers was an example of that, where it was him or Smith going first overall, and he ends up dropping all the way into the 20s, and Green Bay takes him. And then some guys decide to stay home, and the CeeDee Lamb video is another one we love, where he's at home and his girlfriend grabs his second phone and he goes into Spider-Man routine.
He was like, don't even think about oh my
Here it is
word.
up on TSN 2.
She's
She
like,
sneaks
oh,
in.
I just like to have a little peek at this phone. And he says, no, you're not.
Right, look at this.
Super smooth, dude. Super smooth.
Super smooth.
Man.
But yeah, what do you think Detroit brings to the table? I mean, you said you're right across the river at this point. This is a big event for them. They're hosting, and they're a good team. I heard day 2 they're gonna have Barry Sanders come out, Megatron's coming out. That place is gonna be going nuts.
Yeah, to be honest with you, even across the border here in Windsor, everybody's talking about it. That the Lions have been so bad, but they're still like absolutely loved around here. That now that they're very good, I mean, the area is on fire. There's a City of Windsor draft party on Saturday that yours truly might be attending.
Nice.
I mean, Detroit's going nuts. The one thing that's kind of cool when they do the draft in like these cities is that because, they don't get a ton of things, Detroit's not really a destination city. It's not necessarily a place people go for vacation, obviously. And yeah, they did have a Super Bowl, I think, in 2006, but don't think there's any upcoming. It's like when they get a event like this, everybody is fired up. And like you said, Barry's coming out. I believe they just signed Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sewell to a big ticket. So Lions football is taking over the town around here.
Yeah, and it sounds like the Niners are trying to move up. The Giants are trying to move up. Like, how much action do you expect when you hear everyone saying there could be upwards of 8, 9, 10 trades in the first round and 5 quarterbacks in the top 10? Like, are you buying any of that, or do you think it just kind of plays out in a routine fashion like it generally does every year?
I think it's going to end up playing out in a routine fashion. There's a few people that maybe there's one big move, but I think that as much as everybody's trying to find that Patrick Mahomes, or that Joe Burrow, the reality is that most of these first-round quarterbacks aren't as good as advertised, or they don't work out, or something to that effect. So for me right now, I think that as much as we love to kind of bring this thing like, man, they're going to trade up and get a quarterback, unless it's a deal that they really like, I don't think we're going to see a ton of crazy moves early on for a quarterback because, again, after Caleb and the first couple of guys, which everyone assumes will go first, I expect that most of these guys will say, hey, it's not worth selling the farm for a kid that might not work out.
Luke, quickly, before we get you out of here, knowing what you know, being in locker rooms, knowing just crazy stuff you've seen, if you transition to be an executive, what is one question or one thing you would want to find out from a kid that before you selected him?
Wow, that's a great question. I would probably ask him what he's willing to do on the field. How should I phrase this? How far is he willing to go? If you were to get no stats, let's say he's a receiver. Okay, this would not be for linemen. But be like, I'd probably look at him and say, son, if I could guarantee that you would catch 1,000 yards, your third year, or catch 100 and win a Super Bowl, and play on special teams, what would you pick? And I know it's cliche, but I find that in today's world, kind of looking back on my career, the guys that were willing to, maybe not play the star and be the diva, but just be a tremendous all-around football player were kind of the reason that we were able to win early and be a very good team later. Like, to me, in this day and age, I would want less of a star and more just great, tough football players. So I try and find that angle.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and I'm sure teams will be seeking that out, tonight and throughout the week. And it's going to be a fun week where the NFL's, back in the act, and it's round 1 tonight on TSN down in Detroit. Enjoy it down in Windsor, the Sun Belt of Ontario. The O-Dogs always say, what's the weather like? Is it like 25 down there today?
It's quite nice today. It's quite nice. A little windy, but it's quite nice.
Hot pocket. It's a hot pocket of Ontario, pal.
Love it.
I miss you, Pardsy, and I love you, and we're going to go get him this year.
Can't wait.
All right,
I'm doing the salute right now.
Attaboy.
Me too, pal.
Pro athlete salute. See you later. There's Luke Willson.
Here's what we're going to do before the NFL kickoff next year, okay? Mm-hmm. It might be a bit of an advantage knowing what Luke did. Noodles is going to be quarterback.
Yep.
And you and Al's brother, we're just going to run 5 plays on offense, 5 plays on defense. You and Al's brother have to shut down Luke and I, and then vice versa. And it'll be a prep for the season. And it's a disadvantage for a bunch of different reasons. Luke playing in the league is the main one, but we're just going to give it a go. It's just Noodles drops back. Me and Luke got to get open. You two got to cover us, and then it flips around. Whoever has more receptions.
Noodles doesn't look comfortable with being a quarterback.
Can you throw a football?
The biggest disadvantage might be me at quarterback.
Okay.
But honestly, I can throw a ball, but I'm just.
Who at TSN can throw a football?
Well, Duthie's going to say he can.
Duthie plays flag football.
I will take Jermaine Franklin over Duthie any day of the week.
Jermaine would absolutely.
He's 6'6" and an athlete.
Throw a ball pretty good,
yes.
but I haven't. When's the last time I've thrown a
Noodles,
football?
you just told me and Hayes that you're
the
out.
look on my face said it.
Yeah,
all,
you look
guys.
uncomfortable. You can be the ref.
We'll give Duthie an audition. Maybe he can't, but I want Jermaine Franklin tossing that rock.
Probably he can put zip on a football. I guarantee you.
I'll be in there tomorrow. I'm going to ask him, can you chuck the rock? Because we're having a little combine contest.
I like it. All right, let's run it by him. Let's see. We got to figure it out because I'm down for that. Al's brother can run a hot route. He will hit a post route towards the end zone that will absolutely break your
a hot route.
A hot route.
Hot route.
I don't think you said that properly.
No, Al's brother will be Rob Ford, or I will be Rob Ford.
Can you imagine Al's brother stacking the line on Luke, trying to guard that, backtracking?
I love that, like glue, man.
He shows up with like DB gloves on, I'll pass out.
Sticky on his gloves. Sticky gloves. Al's brother. Face paint, everything. I love it. All right, Bruce Boudreau coming up on the 2 games in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. How do the Leafs get some offense going? How do they get the power play going? That more still to come with Bruce and our best bets as well. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Gilmore back in the net. Andrechuk in front with Borshevsky. It is Gilmore waiting around the net. Waiting, he's open. Gilmore! Solo job! And he's won it in the second overtime period. How about that?
Yeah, there it is. The great Bob Cole passing away today at the age of 90. Doug Gilmore, game
and
1.
I'll never forget that goal, that call, all of it.
Unreal. The Gardens going nuts, too, how great the Gardens was. And that was 2 nights after the Borshevsky winner, too, which is crazy because they played 21 games in 42 nights. I'm pretty sure Borshevsky was on like the Saturday night in Detroit, and then Monday night it was St. Louis, Gilmore, double OT.
They literally went every second night right through Vancouver, right through L.A. It was insane amount of hockey.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. And it was just OT winner, crazy game. Detroit being who they were before they finally took off after that. You face Gretzky in L.A. Just incredible. And, those teams, they were physical, they were tough, they were clutch. And the building was rocking. And that's the thing. Like last night, it was rocking when it was physical and there were forechecks and there were big goals. Mm-hmm. And, it's been a long time.
Yeah. And it's like I describe it, I have in the last couple of days, like those thundering checks you talked about, like the Dougie Gilmore spinorama, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that, but standard play, I call it, like dump it in. Oh, maybe you're just a little bit late. It gets cleared out, and then there's some neutral zone back and forth, and then it's a soft chip, and you don't get recovery. It's like that's standard play that doesn't do squat for any kind of fan. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's the crowd in Buffalo. That play does not get anybody out of their seat.
Right.
And I get it. It would be nice if everyone was like Buffalo and they were going crazy, but if you're not doing anything, it's kind of difficult. And it's always been the debate in Toronto. What is it, the chicken or the egg theory? Mm-hmm. Do they have to fire the fans up? Can the fans start? I always found when I'm at a sporting event, I like watching the game. Like if it's 7-1, I'm leaving, but I like to watch it.
Yeah. No, people know what's going on. It's
no,
not
I know,
people
but
are paying attention.
It's bothersome to see that. It's like I get it. You're rich and you got a suite and you got a really expensive martini and you want to finish it, but the optics of it are garbage.
Yes, the lower bowl and the
insane.
nature of the building. There's no disputing that. Again, I think the team needs to, and maybe it won't change. Maybe it doesn't make a difference. I don't know. But I think fans go into the building now in the playoffs, let's face it, and they're thinking negatively before they walk in. Like, that's the nature of it. Leaf fans right now, like in 93, 94, 99, 02, they were winning playoff games a lot. There were a lot of playoff series that were winning, and there was a lot of confidence. And you go down there thinking, man, this is really going to be it.
It's a different mentality of, is Dougie going to do it for us tonight again, as opposed to, are they going to pull that stunt again?
Right, and that is a part of the issue here, is that the team has established that. And they've got to find a way to get out from it, because you should have your fans walking in there thinking, this is our night. This is a series they're going to win. And until the Leafs start doing that, and they've won one playoff round in 20 years. Like, 20 years is an eternity, man. Like, there are people that were, like, I was in my teens and early 20s when the Leafs were doing what they were doing. I'm almost 41 with kids.
You're a man. You're 40.
Yeah, you're a grown ass
and they've
man.
won one round. You know what I mean? And it's so it is really, I think, done a lot of damage psychologically on the fan base, and it's on the team to change that. And yet they're down 2-1 going into Game 4 tomorrow night. And here's a guy that played for the team, knows what it's like, grew up loving the team, NHLer, former Leaf, NHL Coach of the Year, our good buddy Bruce Boudreau. How you doing, Bruce?
I'm doing good. Positivity, boys.
Okay.
Positivity.
Well, Brucey, you tell us, Brucey,
No
what are
more
you positive
negative
about?
stuff.
What are
Okay.
you positive about going into the next game, Brucey?
There will be a game. There's a game 3 and a
Okay.
game 4.
What else?
No, you know what? They played pretty good. I mean, game 1 was a write-off. Game 2, I thought they played really good. I think it could have been anybody's game for the most part on the last game. So, I mean, I think it's going to be a close series. I'd be willing to bet that the Leafs tie the series up tomorrow. And then it's a 2 out of 3. And, not that I don't know how much Willie's going to make a difference, but I would guarantee I can't guarantee anything. I would be willing to bet that he's going to play tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
well, that's
a
what they're
big help
banking
for
on.
them.
Yeah. I mean,
he's been their best playoff guy for the last 3 years. So, I mean, he's been missed, and he gets back into the lineup. I think it'll give everybody a jolt of confidence. And, I'm always hoping for the best.
Brucey, if you sat Mitch Marner in your office right now and you were the coach, what would you say to him?
Oh, Jesus, boy. It would be tough because, I mean, if I'm Sheldon and I've known him for a long time, I would just like to see what he's thinking. Like, here's the thing I thought when Austin had that game in Boston, 3-point effort. He had tons of shots. He was in on everything. I just thought that he sat down in his stall after the game and said, wow, I didn't realize you have to play so hard in the playoffs to have some success. You can't play normal. You can't be just who you are. And I think that's where Mitch is right now. He's playing the same way he did maybe in the regular season, and he's trying just as hard in his mind. But the playoffs are a different animal. You got to play better. You got to play 10 to 15% better every round. I mean, Wayne Gretzky said it best when he said there's 4 different levels of playing in the NHL. You got your preseason, your regular season, your after your playoffs, and then you got your Stanley Cup final that you have to raise your game every time. I mean, I think Austin realized that, holy geez, I can have success, but I got to raise my game. I don't know if Mitch has got there yet. I think he's playing as hard as he did in the regular season, but this is not the regular season. You got to up it even more.
What do you make of the goaltending? You know, obviously Boston's going back and forth. There has been. There's still questions out for Saturday's game, here in Toronto. But what do you make of Samsonov and, the timely saves and, an unfortunate goal against, in the second period?
Yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate. I thought the Marchand goal, that's not the one you're talking about, though, right? The
Frederick goal, yep.
Yeah, the Frederick goal. You need those saves. I don't know what else to say. I'd be sitting behind the bench. I'd be going over to my assistant. Should he have stopped that? And but the teams that win the cup get those great saves. The reason Florida is so good, nobody expected Bobrovsky to make that save the other night, but he did. Those are the kind of saves that win you series, win you cups, is making the saves that nobody expects you to make, and sometimes the goalie just has to make that. It's not. It wasn't a kind of save like Bobrovsky made, but obviously, you just get those. The ones you got to stop are the ones that you should stop, and I don't know what the Leafs are thinking. Maybe they're thinking, do I go to Wall? Do I change goalies now? What do you guys? I'm not asking you guys. What do you guys think?
Well,
I don't. That question would be in my mind, though. Don't you think?
Absolutely. Noodles pointed this out earlier that after one loss, Jim Montgomery of the Bruins made multiple lineup changes, and they've gone back and forth with goalies. And JVR played last night.
Why not try something, Hayes?
Yeah, I guess we'd ask you, Bruce, if you're in that situation, whether it's in Toronto, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Vancouver, you're coming off a loss. Do you naturally think, okay, what can I change? Should I change? What's the process like for a coach in that situation?
Well, I think you can't stay status quo when you lose. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was in Washington, we had Theodore as Jose Theodore as our number one, and at the end of the year, we had this kid in the minors, Varlamov, the Islander goalie now, and he played 6 games for us. He played 6 really good games. But we lost the first 2 games as the home team in the playoffs to the Rangers. And, I had to make a choice. If we stay the same, and Jose was a great Josie was a great goaltender, but if I stay the same and we lose again, I certainly can't make a change in Game 4 in an elimination game with your rookie goalie. So I made the change in Game 3, and he played great, and we ended up winning the series. So, the whole point, I guess, is you make your adjustments, but you can't stay the same. You've got to do something different. You can't play a perfect game and lose and just say, let's go back at it. Even if you're changing your lines up a bit or you're tweaking a bit, because the one thing about playing in the playoffs is you're playing the same team. You don't, in that you can look at the video and you just saw that team and you're playing them again. So it becomes really easy. It's not like if they played Boston in November and then they don't play them till January, seeing if they've made any changes type thing. So it's easy to see where you can fix what you're doing. And a lot of times that's with a little tweak, whether it's a player, whether it's a defenseman, whether it's going 11-7 or 12-6. But I think they got to do something when they come into the rink tomorrow to say, okay, now I feel great. We've made a little adjustment. Let's go get them type thing.
Brucey, how antsy do you get as a coach when a player of Nylander's caliber is close to returning? Are you on the phone with the GM every 10 minutes? What is the feeling like? Just kind of wondering and waiting and looking for answers.
Now, it blacked out a little bit. What was the first part of that? It went dead. The phone went dead for a second.
Just when you get a high quality player like Nylander, and they're getting close to a return, like how antsy are you as a coach? Like, are you on the horn with the GM? Like, just the nervousness of it.
The trainer is tired of listening to me because I'm on the phone with him every 2 minutes. I'm going, is he back? Can he come back? What did the doc say? I mean, is he going to be okay tomorrow? What do we have to do? Is there something he can take? Can we give him a shot? Anything. I mean, you're dying to get the guy back. I mean, and because he fits into, makes the lines fit. I mean, even McMahon, who's played, I thought, really good this year for them. I mean, I think if they can get him back, that adds more speed into the lineup. So, I mean, you and the GM are always talking come playoff time, and he knows everything you know because you should be communicating back and forth like on an hourly basis almost. So, but it's the trainer that I'm talking to all the time is finding out who's better, who can play that's not playing. Is there any way we can get him back in the lineup? That's what I want to know.
With Bruce Boudreau, and the officiating is obviously a big part of every playoff round, and the Leafs were not happy last night, and they've probably been unhappy at different points, and Boston's been unhappy at different points. I'm curious, the interaction between a coach and the GM during the round in terms of trying to give the GM details about what your interactions are like with the refs, what you're seeing on the ice, what you're hearing, because it's the GM that's going to be calling the league. Like, what is a coach's role in trying to get that message across?
Well, I mean, you know what? Everybody has a supervisor at the games, all right? And you're allowed to, as a coach, to the next morning, the supervisor will come in and he'll talk to both teams and he'll ask what are you concerned about? Whether it's hey, they're letting too many cross checks go, or Marchand's getting away with murder, and each team tries to maneuver their way into getting their way. Like I'll remember times they're saying, "Listen, they're cross-checking the heck out of us. Can you not just call the cross-checks?" And then the supervisor will take it to the referees, and that's the gamemanship you play that nobody sees is when you're doing that sort of thing. But I mean, with the and then at the end, like you can do it in your press conference and say, I think. They got away with them, and Marchand is doing a lot of hooking, and they don't seem to be calling it. But that usually ends up costing you. I mean, I said it once when Eric Stahl got cross-checked in the throat. They didn't call it, and I said, well, the referee saw it, but they just didn't call it. And the next thing I know, I got a call from Coley that said that's going to cost you $5,000. But I mean, those things happen. And Gary Bettman, before the playoffs, tells every coach that, we don't want this gamemanship going on, but it goes on everywhere. I see it between periods on every game that I'm watching, whether it's subtly, John Cooper is really good at it. And, and everybody's trying their own way to get in, to get one call going their way. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Do you think Tampa's got a shot here, Bruce, now that they're back in Tampa tonight, down 2-0, Bennett not playing, but Florida looks mighty good right now. You think Tampa can get up off the mat?
Well, Florida looks great right now, but they've won 3-2 and 3-2 in overtime. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, to me, maybe home ice might make the difference. That last change might make the difference. I think both goalies in this series have been outstanding. And I think it could, if just knowing Tampa, I mean, they're pretty resilient all the time. I don't think, other than that Columbus series a few years back, they will compete with everybody. And I think Florida will give it their best shot tonight, because if they get 3 up, they're definitely going to win. If they don't, you've got a series. So, I mean, it's a really vital game, this game 3. But I think Tampa does have a shot. I never counted John Cooper team out. And, and they've been pretty good the last half of the year, boy. They've been better than pretty good. And so I think it's going to be a really good game there.
Yeah, only a couple of games tonight, and then we got the NFL draft, and then the Canadian content will storm back in with the Oilers and Jets and Vancouver, and, of course, Game 4, Leafs, Bruins Saturday night. It's going to be fun. Always great catching up with you, Bruce. We appreciate you doing this. Thank you.
No problem. You guys have a great night, okay?
Yep, we will. There's our good friend Bruce Boudreau.
I think Brucey meant to say his phone dropped for 10 seconds.
What did he say? He blacked out?
Yeah, he said he blacked out. And it was his phone. I think the connection dropped. You're
yes,
right.
he meant to say his connection. He's like, "Oh, sorry, I blacked out." You didn't black out, Brucey, because you were talking to us.
Right. Yeah.
His phone blacked out.
Like you talked him into a blackout or something like
right.
that. I don't know. I think he just cut out. Yes, and then came back.
Think the
JP, do you have
was...
that one line or no?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean,
we blacked out a little bit. What was the first part of that?
The question was at 2.6 of vodka. Listen, it's all good. We love having Bruce on, and a really interesting kind of detail about handling stuff like showing up to the rink after a loss, talking with your supervisor of each round. Like he's been in all of it, man.
Yeah.
He's been in all of it. All right, we'll come back with our best bets brought to you by FanDuel, and look ahead again to the NFL draft tonight right here on TSN. OverDrive continues, TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm on the under Panthers Lightning tonight. I think it'll be a tough game, battle. Both goalies will show up. I think Vasilevsky shows up tonight. Yeah, he might have to steal one. I mean, likely Tampa plays a lot better at home, but I think that's going to be a 3-2 game.
Bennett, big loss. I think it's long-term, too.
Well, they said week to – was it week or week to week? That's what I thought I heard.
I just saw lengthy amount of time. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. In the playoffs, you're never going to get a straight answer anyway, but he's not playing tonight. I would guess he won't play at all when they're in Florida. So under in that game, and I'm on the Hurricanes' money line tonight. I just think they're going to steamroll the Islanders again. I mean, that building will be rocking. Sorokin's in net. But if they weather the storm, Carolina's just better. Top to bottom, they're a better team. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. FanDuel's goal in the first 10 minutes is the most electric bet in hockey and can be included in a same-game parlay on any NHL game. Please play responsibly, 19+, physically located in Ontario. All right, so you get the NFL draft tonight on TSN. You've got a couple of Stanley Cup playoff games. You've got a few in the NBA, including Philly and the Knicks tonight, and the Lakers are back home against Denver. That's a must-win.
What did the Jays do today?
Still in a rain delay, and they're losing 2-1. So
and they're a weird team, man. It's like you think they're making progress. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just it's got a weird vibe to it. Vladdy is got a weird vibe to him. Like I don't know, man. Maybe that's why they didn't hand over that big contract, because they knew. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's aggressive comment, maybe. But the drop-off from that MVP caliber season where everyone thought this is the next superstar of the game.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. Mm-hmm. And to have Manoah on the side doing what he's doing, because he is outrageous.
We didn't mention that. He had a rehab start yesterday that was a disaster. Again.
Another one?
So you're talking about a guy that was going to be your ace, and then another guy that was going to be the home run like MVP type, and both they're not really close, and that kills your organization, man.
Yeah, it does. I mean, at the end of the day, there's not much you can do with Manoah. He's not coming up. If he can't get AAA hitters out, he's not pitching in the major leagues. And even Schneider said it today. He's like, it wasn't good. But the Jays, if this game resumes, maybe they pull out a win. If it doesn't, they're going to lose. Or if it continues in the same pace, they're going to lose. That'll be dropping 3 or 4 in Kansas City. And now you come home, you get the Dodgers here this weekend. Like, this weekend is going to be crazy with Shohei in town, Game 4 tomorrow on Saturday night, Leafs Bruins at 8 p.m. And, we'll see. A lot tomorrow will be about teeing up Game 4 and what's been going on with the Leafs and Bruins and how physical it's been. how long it's been since the Leafs scored 4 goals in a game. We'll start detailing that, and we'll look back on the 2 games tonight, the first round of the NFL draft, and it's going to be a fun one tomorrow. So thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. As always, everyone for tuning in, TV, radio, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at...
My Partsy, I love you. Good luck at the draft, and we're going to go get them next year. 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.